Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. Today we have someone really amazing, a beautiful woman called Tiu de Haan, and Tiu is a celebrant. And I don't know many female celebrants in this country. And one thing that Tiu celebrates is weddings, and it's all about love. So I invited Tiu onto my show today just to talk about what it means for her to be a celebrant and to talk more about her experiences of love and marrying people. So welcome to you.
Thank you.
So nice
Lovely
to
to see you. So nice to see you. I'll sit still.
So, just briefly, T, could you explain to people who don't know what a celebrant is?
Absolutely. And I should also say it's not that I'm celibate, which is the thing that honestly everyone goes, why has she just told us that she's not having sex with people? That's not the case. A celebrant is somebody who creates non-religious ceremonies and rituals like weddings and funerals and baby naming ceremonies, but also my remit is really wide open, so I also create all sorts of other ceremonies for other things. So it's about using ritual and ceremony as a creative art form. And so I generally work with atheists, agnostics, people who define themselves as spiritual but not religious. And when I marry people, that can be anything from interfaith couples to gay couples to straight couples to people who want to have something that's completely bespoke and just for them. But equally, I could also do ceremonies for somebody that wanted it, that was about their being single or their giving up being single or about having a child or not. Like there's all sorts about self-love. I married a woman to herself, which was a famous news story that was really viral. So there's all sorts of different variations on the idea of love, but the wedding is the one that we all know and recognise, and some of us love, not everybody.
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I watched your TED Talk, which is really wonderful and heart-moving, and in that you spoke about your more personal experiences with love. And as a female, obviously, and single at the moment, what's it like for you marrying couples?
It is the most intimate, fascinating education in how to make love work.
Fantastic.
I am so curious when I meet the couples. So this evening I'm meeting a couple who I'm going to be marrying later this year. And we had one initial consultation, and they inspired me so much. Their story about their journey to the point of getting married.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to share their story for them because I haven't asked their permission. Yeah. But just in terms of my experience, I sat there thinking, I have a hotline to the exact moment when two couples flip from being two individuals on a parallel path to suddenly turning into one unit. And it's my privilege to learn from them how they got there, why they're doing it, what it is that they want to have as the ceremony and the kind of invisible, meaningful aspect of it, rather than the legal bit, which isn't what I do. Right. And I get to ask all these different people questions, really nosy questions. I stop short of asking about their sex life, but that may change one day, because sometimes that might be relevant. I have the most incredible ringside seat at the moment of true love, committing into being something really solid. And I don't know if there's any one thing that I'm learning from it, other than that each love story is really different. And each pair have gone through a different story to get to the point where they're getting married. So part of my job is to make a completely unique experience for them that isn't a one-size-fits-all ceremony. So it's a bit like if you go into an antique wedding dress shop and you see one of those really beautiful, tiny little kind of beaded, corseted, ivory silk embroidered magical things on the wall, and you try and putting it on and you just go, this is so beautiful, but it doesn't quite fit. It's just a little bit too tight here, or it just feels a bit too formal, or it's from an era where there were formalities which are really comforting and really beautiful and really wonderful to have the ancestral echoes in their kind of, in the words and in the actions of a traditional wedding, but they don't quite fit. And so my job is to go, well, we can take some of that tradition, we can take a little bit of whalebone corsetry if you want some, but you might want to do the rest in yoga leggings. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Or not. They may be in any number of different kinds of situations. And also each family have, each pair, each half of the couple, they have two families, right? So these families are being bonded by this couple too. Because actually there's this whole ancestral thing going back, where suddenly all of these people are actually a part of the process. Sometimes these people have kids too, there's people I marry, so they've already committed. But there's this much bigger picture going on. And just to kind of go, say the vows you've always said, have the cake that you expect, wear the dress that is expected, have the champagne flutes, have the invitations. Everyone focuses on that stuff. Yes. On kind of the car and the cards and the canapes. And actually, it's the ceremony at the heart of a wedding that is the bit that has the power, makes people cry, makes people connect to the love in their own hearts, makes people wish that couple well. And it doesn't have to be one size fits all. And people don't think about it until the last minute. Oh, hush now, I've said quite a lot. Am I sipping tea? Am I allowed to sip tea? Or
You're allowed to sip tea. What I'm hearing there, that it's stripping away all the, maybe all the pomp in one sense, as in all the things, but getting back to the meaning of why are these two people getting together. That's what I get the sense of.
That's right.
Yeah. And
I was just going to say, it's also the difference between why do they want the legal part and why do they want the ceremony. Right. Because the legal part is practical, it's historical, it helps financially, it's like a status thing, it's a legally binding, that's traditionally what marriage came from, right? It was from, you know, it was culturally, it was to do with cattle. Do you know what I mean? It's to do with children, livestock, possessions. And that's still part of it. But increasingly that, you know, that doesn't have that much magic. Or at a registry office, you know, registrars do amazing work, but they don't actually know how to make a bespoke ceremony. They can't. They're not allowed to by legal, for legal reasons. They can't. They have to stick to 3 scripts. They can't mention anything even remotely spiritual. So you can't even have Ave Maria playing. You can't have a poem that hints at anything spiritual or God tending. It's literally
I never knew this.
And you have to be under a roof, and you have to be under a particular roof, a roof that has been designated as a legally viable place, and it has to be in the hours of daylight.
Wow.
So all of those things are incredibly devoid of poetry, frankly. None of those things make you cry, right? So then if you just separate it out and you go, well, that's okay, that's still doing a job. If you need that job to be done, you may not, but if you do, that's still the legal bit. Yes. So then you separate it out and you put everything else into the ceremony, and that's what I do. So it's a little bit like when you have a funeral, you register the death and then you have a funeral. Right. When you have a baby, you register the birth and then you have a baby naming or a christening or whatever. A wedding is the same when you work with me. You register the legal part, and then all the love and all of the emotion and all the magic happens in the ceremony. So part of what I do is I go, why do you want a ceremony? Maybe you just want to have the legal document signed and that's fine. But the ceremony is about heart.
Yes. Even just asking someone that question, that's a big question to ask a couple. I mean, do you ask the couple together?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Always. Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Well, yeah. And also I kind of go, have you thought about your vows? And they usually go, no, can you tell us what to say? And I say, no. I can help you. No, because it's your relationship. And you need to come up with vows that are specific to your relationship. And then it's also, you know, sometimes I do always go a little bit into the darkness a bit. I kind of go, listen, this is about making a commitment that is going to carry you over the rough patches. Yeah. So what rough patches might we have ahead? Let's call a spade. No, seriously, it's like
I love that. But it's important. No, it's a big deal. You need to think about this. If this is the person you want to marry, commit to, spend the rest of your life with, in theory. Yeah.
Exactly. And some couples just go, you know what, I think we're fine. We just need, and I'm like, okay, well then that's fine. Now, do we get your whole community involved? Do we get your family and your friends and everybody to be at the ceremony, to be an active part of the ritual? Do you want that? And if they say yes, then we incorporate that too. I've done all sorts of different weddings though. Different people need completely different things. So
I want to go back to something you said about what you're learning yourself about love and the pathway that you've seen. I know two couples have come together in the same way, but what have you learned about love? Yeah, and that pathway.
What have I learned? I don't know about how I'm yet applying it to me, but what I've learned is that this idea that there are different combinations of people that create between them different stories, right? So for example, one couple will want to remain really independent from each other, and their wedding ceremony is not about them joining for life. It's about them being best friends in parallel. That happened. Another one is all about the kid that they've already had together, the child being the human ring. Another one will be about disparate cultural influences being woven together. So like an interfaith wedding. So I did one which was the groom was from a Sikh background and the bride was from a Catholic background. So we did a Sikh ritual in French because the bride's family. So it was like this. So that was about weaving together that. And of all of them, the thing that they all have in common is, well, they love each other, first of all. But the particular combination of the people seems to enhance both sides.
Okay, can you say a bit more?
So rather than it being a case of people forcing themselves into a commitment, it's because they both become more themselves as a result of being with that other person. That's what I noticed. So regardless of what that themself might be, they seem to be more that by virtue of being in a connection with the other person. I haven't come across any couples who seem to be doing something that forces them out of who they are because they're so madly in love that they're intoxicated, or because they're in something destructive, or because they're in something that is, I don't know, robbing them of their independence somehow. It's like all of the people who I've been lucky enough to marry, in every single case, it's like 1 + 1 makes 3. You know, it's not just two individuals. It's like the combination of them makes a third. This is what, and that third is a healthy being. You know, that third is somebody who, I'm anthropomorphizing the relationship as if it were an avatar, right? So I'm saying relationship is completely different in each case, but in both cases it makes both of them more than they would be without it.
Yes.
And I haven't actually done a divorce ceremony.
I was just going to ask you about that.
I haven't done an official one, but I've done cord cuttings when you get to the end of a relationship and you need to let go of something or something. And my sense is that it's not so much it is the idea of the other person that you need to let go of, but it's that third, actually. It's the composite of the two of you.
Yes.
That you need to mourn and maybe watch die, or maybe keep alive and let it become something else. But it's a being that only existed as a result of the two of you together. So when it's time to celebrate it, it's about like, who is that being and how can we all get behind it? When it's time to let it go, we need to mourn that as if it were a death. Because I remember a girlfriend of mine saying years and years and years ago to me, saying, "What do you think you're like in bed?" And I went, that's such an interesting question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And the reason I have no idea is because it depends entirely on who I've been with. And it's the same thing, right? It's like with some people, they bring out some aspect of you that is particularly unhealthy or chaotic or dramatic or stressed or anxious or fronting too much or whatever, mixed up with other things. And with other people, they bring out something that's kind of harmonious and calm and gentle, and everything else along the spectrum. So the people that I marry so far have all had that creation of that third being be something that I think for you two, amazing. And sometimes it's volatile. Sometimes that creature, I married one couple where of their vows, one of the sentences were, "You are my toughest adversary."
Wow.
And my greatest ally.
Wow.
And it was true.
I like that. But yeah.
For them it was
For
true.
them it was real.
That is not a line that would fit many couples, but for them, they have a think the sex is great. They have that energy though, do you know what I mean? They have that kind of, come on, what are we going to do? And they're big character, they're amazing people. So, whereas other ones, like the ones I'm seeing later, they're calmer as a result of being with each other. They're more grounded as a result of being with each other. They're healthier, they're softer, they're different. They're not more energized and excited. They're more kind of, and it just depends on the couple. So, love forms into all these different kinds of creatures, and it's my job to kind of celebrate, capture, and honor the particular story that has brought them together.
I love that. And something earlier that you said, if I've understood it correctly, is that there's a defining moment. Have you spoken to couples when they said there's been a defining moment when we knew that we loved each other?
Yes. But that's too narrow a moment. Like there's been moments where they've loved each other immediately, but it's been this massive long journey to get to the point of commitment. Or they've had huge, there've been loads of things against it. Or they've broken up for a while and got back together again, but they already loved each other. So it would be too simplistic to kind of say there's a defining moment when the penny drops. I think there often is, but that's not true for everybody. And for some people, it's really quiet as well. It's just a really, really calm, I'm pragmatic. I want to have a baby with you because you're awesome. You know, like not because you're the love of my life and my heart is flipping over and my stomach is churning around and I want to run merrily through the daisies, but because I like watching box sets with you. You know, that's also completely, so it's not like, everybody does have some kind of moment, I guess, but that's too narrow. If you're looking for that moment, you might miss it.
Like you said, I liked what you said about you can love someone, but not necessarily want to have a commitment with them. That can be two very different things, clearly.
Totally. And also the other thing to remember is that the ceremony part of a wedding actually isn't legally binding. So if you just wanted to have a celebration for the sake of celebrating the love, you can do that. And pagan weddings, I've never led a pagan wedding, but I technically could. I mean, I'm not a pagan. I would imagine somebody wanting a pagan wedding would want a pagan. But anyway, but one of the things about it is they're only valid for a year and a day.
Oh.
Yeah. And the actual origin of that, as I understand it, I may have this slightly wrong, but my sense of this is that they came into existence because it was about offspring. So if the woman got pregnant within a year and a day, it was all good. If she didn't, there was a get-out clause.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, but also, you could also, that's pretty horrible. That's kind of going, are you going to give me offspring, pack horse, doing my bidding? You know, that's not very empowering. But equally, you could also see it from another angle and go, I'm choosing this in the moment right now. And after a year and a day, I can recommit. Or we can recalibrate our compass and go, is this, how are we doing? Do we want to recommit? And then you're always present and you're always saying, and now, and now, and now. So I like that idea myself, but then maybe it would be a bit unsteady. I don't know. How
have you found in people's vows, does the word forever and ever come into it? I'm going to love you forever and ever, till death will do us part. Does anything like that come into it?
No, not the ones that
you've done. That's that's
no.
interesting.
I mean, I don't think I can share vows with you without checking with the people first, so
yeah.
I probably won't. But there are some they're kind of more worded. They are agreements that you're making that are going to carry you through. So it might be something like, I promise to cherish the relationship that we have and to always give it space and time, you know, or I promise to, or I will, you know, take you on adventures and make sure we go dancing and hug you when you feel crap, and you know what I mean, like the things that actually are going to see you through.
Yeah, the things that matter.
Yeah, depending on the
real
relationship. But no, no one's ever done the traditional vows with me, apart from at the very end I always get them to do an I do, because it's, you know, it's a classic. You want, at some point you want to say the words I do after you've done. So basically the way I structure it is they go through all of their vows, and at the end I'll say, whoever you are, you know, with these rings exchanged, if they've exchanged rings, which is not absolutely guaranteed, it has always happened, but it's not necessary, with these rings exchanged and these vows exchanged in the witness, you know, of all these people, do you take to be your partner in life, or however they want to, and when they say I do, when they both say I do, the crowd are on their feet.
I love it.
And there's a kiss, and it's the big, it's the jazz hands moment. But it's the most traditional part of the ceremony, I suppose. There's no need for that in a way. Like the bits, the vows are really powerful, I think, because what you're doing is you're making a declaration to stick to something with somebody with whom you know that we all know that we're going to go in and out of love with people, right? Even if we love them to bits, they're still going to have days when you just go, and you're saying to the person, even then, all of these people are here, and they're all going to witness, they're all going to hold me to it, and I'm holding myself to it, and here I am declaring my love for you right now, and I'm going to do my best to make that work. It's pretty amazing, and I get to physically be right beside them, so I have, you know, they're literally right in front of me. So I'm in this incredibly intense moment when they're holding eye contact and they're holding each other's hands, and they're usually crying, or they're terrified, or they're laughing, or something, like the energy is like, and I'm going,
wow.
So it's so beautiful to be in the middle of that.
Wow. Which brings me on to, what's it like, for you as a single woman in doing what you do, and you know, what does it feel like for you?
I get sat at a table with a lot of bachelors.
No, not good. Oh, okay.
It hasn't come to anything yet. It definitely, no, you know what? Because I think I've been at weddings where I've been a guest, or I've been a singer, because that's another hat I have, and it's been really lonely. And I've been sat there going, oh God, I just can't ever see myself doing this. I haven't, well, no, because I haven't met somebody with whom I do it. Not because I'm against the institution of marriage, but, you know, it just feels like, oh, you know, everybody else has got a partner, everybody else gets married, and it can trigger that. But when I'm the celebrant, it's not about me. I feel like I'm in this incredibly beautiful role, and without wanting to sound too woo-woo, I am holding the love. Like I am being responsible for the meaningful bit, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as they're concerned. We'll have talked this out before it gets to the day. I'm not the registrar going, box A, fine, box. No, like that's not what I'm doing. I'm going, everything here, all of this energy, all of this love, all of this intent is for you guys to bind together in this story that's going to keep you there, and I'm holding it. That is nothing but an honor. I mean, it's so beautiful and so powerful, and it also, like I say, it's like having the hot seat, like right next to the source of love. You know, it's like I'm in their vows, you know, I'm in their love, I'm in their commitment to each other, and I'm kind of getting some of it, you know. It's like I'm getting a bit of a splashback from this kind of force that is uniting them, and it's very different to being the permanent singleton at the dinner party. We're just going, ugh. It's like, no, I'm in the love. I'm in love with a capital L here. They're in also, I would argue, love with a capital L, because it's flipped from romance into something massive, something held by a community, regardless of your spiritual beliefs. It's like, it's an event that harnesses all these people together. And I'm weaving that. I'm kind of making that energy happen and bringing everybody, and basically, frankly, making everybody cry, including myself sometimes. And that isn't lonely at all. It's powerful. And so I don't feel like a single woman in that moment. I feel like a conduit for a force of love with a capital L that is utterly inclusive and totally extraordinary. And I'm learning about human beings making agreements with each other as I go. So no, I couldn't be more. I love doing weddings. The only other thing I'd say about the dark side of weddings is really interesting. So I do funerals too, right? I do lots of different kinds of things. So funerals, most people think a funeral is just going to be miserable and a wedding is just going to be joyful. It's not true. What happens is often a funeral is weird in that people get terrible giggles. You have this really strange energy of, you're so connected to being alive that you have this kind of visceral, like you get, I guess it's like being around a birth or something. I've never been at a birth, but you know, you have this kind of alpha and omega, like the vastness of, I'm here, I'm alive, I have blood, you know, you have this amazing intense aliveness. And that kind of mitigates the misery. And it's a celebration of a life, and everyone's there to love somebody, right? A wedding, similarly, supposed to be all sunny, actually there's often a huge amount of stress, and a massive amount of fronting, you know. It's a show, you know. There's a lot of do
you think that's still involved in what you do, the show part?
I cut through it, but that's that's part of, I mean, I've got to look right. You know, I've got to dress, I've got to wear the right outfit, I've got to say the right words. I can't offend Granny Betty, who's going to take offence at the fact that I'm not a vicar. You know, I can't alienate the whatever. You know, it's like I have a job to do that is keeping everybody. I'm a performer essentially at the front of the space, but often there are difficult things that need to be acknowledged, you know, or family members who can't be there, or there's a dead parent. There's often a dead parent, and they're really, really, really missed on the wedding day. So then it's a question of, do we talk about that? Do we lay a place for them? Do we include them in the wedding ceremony?
Of course.
Often there's, you know, there's been massive burdens they've overcome to get to this point. And it's a case of, do you go, it's all been fine, or do you kind of go, these guys are going to make it because they've already made it past this? You know, that's all up for discussion. But all I'm saying is, the initial thing is black and white. Funeral black, wedding white, not at all. It's much more complicated. And there's grief sometimes, you know, sometimes there's, you know, grief of losing your singleness, grief of shutting down the options, you know, do I really want to be with this person for the rest of my life? It's complicated. And all of those things are present in a wedding. It's fascinating.
If there was some advice that you could offer, because as you know, I'm a love and relationship coach, and I mainly work with single women who want to be in relationships, who want to settle down and have family and have children. From your experience of what you've learned, is there something you could share that could be of value to them, that they could learn from?
So for me, given that I'm also a single woman, also looking for love and wanting to open to that possibility, it's about ritual. It's about creating a way of being really self-loving and being creative in how you put that out in the world. So for example, I have done a ritual where I wrote a really long love letter to the person who I wanted to meet. Epic. And I mean, pages. It just poured out of me one day, and I took it out with me to leave it somewhere. I just thought, I'm just going to leave this. And you know, the weirdest thing happened. I put it in my bag, and I went down the road, and I went to the shop, and I went to pay, and it wasn't in my bag anymore.
Really?
I have no idea what happened to it. I still don't know.
No way.
I called my landlord downstairs, suddenly thinking, oh no, he's going to think I've been nursing this huge crush on him. And it's like, really weird question. Any chance? And he hadn't. He was like, no, it's fine. But what it felt to me like was declaring my love and my intent to the world in a ritual, in a way that was kind of out there. And I don't know where that thing ended up, but I love that I don't know. I didn't put anything very clear about how they could find me, but I did find myself kind of just going, here you go, this is what I'm calling in. Also, I do internet date. I use Tinder, and so for me there's something about staying really clear, staying really attuned to my self-love when looking at the faces that you judge, because that's how it works. You go, okay, but it's kind of looking into the eyes of the people in the picture and going, how self-loving are you? Obviously you can't ascertain that from a photograph, but coming from that place, going, I'm going to connect with this, and then I'm going to look. And allowing the state of self-love to bubble up in a yummy, delicious kind of a hug of joy, and out of that to go out into the world looking. Because you know, somebody very wise said to me, if I have a note on my wall somewhere saying, nourish the temple and then you'll be surprised by joy. And I was like, that's nice. I like that. And also she said, be the flower, not the bee, which is controversial, because you could also say being the bee is absolutely fine and going out there and getting it is something, but energetically, in terms of the rituals that allow in the love, that celebrate the love, there's something about kind of starting with the love and then acting. I know that's a bit vague and maybe not what you and your listeners want to hear in terms of step one, but you know, but
it is about declaring, because a lot of my clients, they feel embarrassed and ashamed to say, I want to be in a relationship, I want to be married. So there is some stigma around that. Sometimes I meet them and they think they should be okay being single. And if they're not, they're not. And it's so perfectly okay to want to be married and want to meet someone, want to settle down. And so I love that. Declare it. And also then what happens, I think, is that when you declare it and you meet somebody else who's also declaring it, it's a lot quicker. There's not more games to play. I mean, you know, again, Tinder isn't a great example because a lot of people use it for casual hookups, but I did a baby naming of a couple who met on Tinder. You know, it's like it can go in any different direction. The thing is,
but if you declare it, I went on a date the other day actually with a guy, and there wasn't chemistry, but it was really interesting because he was just really clear. He was like, I'm looking for my woman. Like, okay, great, I'm looking for my man, let's talk. And we met and it was like, I'm not your woman. But it was brilliant because it was really straightforward. It was really like, I have this vision and this is what I'm looking for, and I really want to do that. I mean, it was a little bit kind of, is there any wiggle room in your vision? You know, like, can we have a slice of cake first? Or there was that. There was the kind of slightly kind of, it's all or nothing. I really love, this is kind of maybe hippy dippy cheesy, but I really love Abraham Hicks on this stuff. Do you know who I mean? Abraham Hicks, they talk a lot about really like basically getting your thoughts and your feelings up to this kind of joyful, delicious state, and then dating. And I was listening to a talk the other day where she was saying, don't have marriage vows that are kind of till death do us part. Have marriage vows that are things like, you're kind of great right now. Like, this is really interesting. We're making each other feel good right now. Let's keep doing doing this.
Yeah.
This is great. I choose you. This is fun right now. And then you keep choosing and you keep staying present with it, because as soon as you go, but you have to fix me, or you have to save me, or you have to make something massive happen for me, or my happiness is your job.
Yes. Big mistake. Big mistake. Yeah.
But so human, because you can't go around going, I'm completely independent, I'm completely happy. You can't do anything and still engage in a vulnerable, open-hearted relationship. You know, it's an interesting one. I don't think there's any one way of doing it, but I really liked that idea that she was in the Abraham Hicks talk. She was just talking about being fully in your joy, fully in your delight, and every time you felt like you were going off piste with that, taking responsibility for getting yourself back on that, and then relating back to the person from there. So it's a really interesting way of doing it. So I don't know if any of that's helpful, but you can create ceremonies and rituals that are to do with self-love, that are to do with generating the healthy, clear, joyful energy that you want to be coming from, rather than the kind of please. Because unfortunately, even though that's really painful to be in, and believe me, I know that space very well, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't attract anybody, and it doesn't. The people that are attracted to that tend to be attracted to something that you don't want to be energizing in yourself, anyways.
You mentioned something about story, and about you learning about the stories of people getting together. Could you say a little bit more about what you mean by that?
So, a love story isn't necessarily just what happened. You don't necessarily go, we were physically in the same location on this date, and I fancied you and you fancied me, and then we did this, and then it went there, and now we're here. It's not like a sequence of facts. It's what we make them mean. So it's where you go, and the way in which you tell the story about that is what becomes the story for a relationship, and is what becomes the story of the ceremony. So, for example, I married a couple who had really quite difficult practical odds against them when they met. They lived in different countries. One of them worked all the time on the move. So the chances of them physically meeting in the first place were next to nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, I think she was on a date with somebody when they met. I think. Might have that wrong, but I think she was on a date, and she went outside and they were chatting outside a bar, and they just clicked. And they just got chatting, and they just had a laugh. Excuse me. And then the second meeting was even more unlikely. It was one of those sort of odd coincidences, and then but they realized very quickly that there was something massive there. And then the hurdles they had to overcome in order to be together were enormous. So I asked them, when I was writing their wedding ceremony, do you think this was fate? And they said, absolutely not. Because if we told the story that it was fate, that would take away all the magic. It wasn't a done deal. It wasn't necessarily going to happen. This was not guaranteed. In fact, the fact that it did happen is so much more magical and so much more wonderful, because it wasn't preordained. That's what we want you to emphasize. So there's an example right there of, they could have told the story of, it was written, it is all foretold. They were, and somebody might make it mean that, right? That would be the story they tell. They wanted to very specifically tell a story that was about the odds being against it, not in favor of it. And that for them became a story that then made us even more celebratory. Because there was even more, like, it could so easily not have happened. So that's an example of and then you've got all of these different forces that have gotten together to that point, and then there's this kind of nexus where all of that stuff comes together. They're the apex of their relationship, and then they're about to go out and start a future together, and that's a whole nother story. And the nature of that story, I think, kind of depends upon how all of these come together, and that pinnacle point which I'm standing there with and going, right, okay, and then they kind of move forward from there. That pivot point is to do with how we're telling the story of the relationship and how they want to continue telling that story. And also, you know what? We make up stories all the time.
Yeah.
And the story that we tell about our singleness is probably something that you have to deal with all the time with your clients.
Yes.
And the story that we would tell about our love equally could be something which, you know, people who are having a difficult story around that would take that to a couples counsellor, for example. You know,
Yes.
there's all sorts of different ways of interpreting that stuff. So you can separate the story from the facts, and sometimes it's useful to do that and go, what are we making this mean? Not there just is this drama that overlays the whole thing that is a story. No, we're making this story up. What story do we want to tell? Do we want to say that you're the love of my life and we were destined from birth? Or do we want to say, I'm so lucky to have found you, it almost didn't happen, I'm choosing you again and again? Either one could work for you, but you have to both be telling the same story. Or at least have harmonious stories. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I've never thought about it. I've never explained it in those terms before, but that's what I think. We're meaning makers.
We're meaning makers, yes.
We're going to make stuff mean stuff. And love is so close to our most tender, vulnerable, needy places that we're going to make pretty important stories about it.
Yes.
So may as well make the ones that we want.
Absolutely.
Including going, I'm single, and that's because I'm just really happy and I'm just getting queued up for the right person, which is the story that I'm telling at the moment. And it's the truth. Sometimes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much, Tiu, for joining me today. And is there any final words that you'd like to put out into the world before we say goodbye?
Just love with a capital L.
Love with a capital L. Perfect.
Whatever that means. Whatever you make that mean.
Thank you so much, Tiu.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
And if anybody wants to contact Tiu, all her details will be below in the description, including her TED Talk, which you must watch. It's really fantastic. It's really wonderful. So thank you for watching. And for now, I'll say goodbye to Tiu and goodbye to everybody else. Bye.
Bye.
And that's Tiu, a celebrant, talking about her experience as a celebrant and how she weaves together a wonderful story between two people who have fallen in love and want to get married. She helps create something that's magical and unique and is very personal to the couple coming together because it's all about love. One of the things I really loved about what Tiu was saying was that every love story is unique. So if you're thinking and believing that your love story is meant to be a certain way and has to go down a particular route and it has to happen like this, then maybe it's time for you to step back, especially if you're single and struggling in your love relationships, that you don't know how your story might unfold. You don't know that maybe you're going to the shops one day and you meet your guy. Maybe it's at a party, maybe it's on a bus somewhere. You don't know how your love story is going to unfold. Everybody's story is different. There may be lots of trials and tribulations along the way. It may be just you meet someone, then you're just together just like that. What I ask of you is to keep an open mind and an open heart and to soften your belly and to believe that love is possible for you, that it can happen for you. The way that I interpret that is that if you can be in a place that's very open and receptive and is inviting and welcoming love into your world, then it will come to you. It has to come to you. It's like magnets coming together. There's one thing I loved what Tiu was saying, and what I personally prescribe to is that it's important to understand the place that you're coming from when you're looking for love and wanting to settle down and be married and start your own family. Is it coming from a place of neediness and desperation, or are you relaxed about it? Are you still very open and receptive and calm and relaxed about meeting your guy and finding love? What would you rather choose, coming from a place of nurturing yourself, loving yourself, liking yourself, and then going out and finding a partner, or coming from a place of fear or desperation desperately wanting to meet someone, needing something from them to give you love. Now, I prescribe to the other, where you can feel love for yourself and then go out from that place, from that energy, wanting to connect with someone you're equal, as opposed to grabbing and wanting and needingly, desperately wanting it from the other person. It's a very different energy, indeed. And if you're looking for something for long term, then I invite you to come from a place of loving yourself and nurturing yourself first, and then wanting to meet someone who can match you at that place, so you can move forward together and have something that's much more solid, more grounded, and happier and real and connected for the long term. And another thing that I loved hearing from Tiu was talking about doing the inner work and self-love, and how important that is to attract the mate that you're looking for. I'm sure you've heard of the law of attraction, and what I take that to mean, what I personally prescribe to, is that if you can really connect with your heart, really connect that the love that is within you, and open yourself up from that place to attract the right partner, the right mate for you for the long term. For me, it starts with loving yourself first and foremost. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's the method that I prescribe to. And when you do that, when you can come from a heart-centered place, a place from genuinely, truly loving yourself, the choices you make and the type of person you choose will be very, very different. It will also be different from the type of person who will want to be in your life. Now, I want you to have really great, loving, juicy, long-term relationships. But in order for you to have that, you have to connect with that part of you that genuinely feels that for you, genuinely feels real love for you, likes yourself. That we need to feel love for ourselves. We need to like ourselves. And then when we do, it's inevitable that we're going to attract someone who's of equal value to us. That's what I believe. So from my heart to yours, I wish you love, and I want you to find love and stay in love.